Welcome back to the channel, everybody. Come on, you know what to do. Greetings and salutations, everybody. Merry Christmas. That's right, today is Christmas Day, December 25th, 2024. What's up with that intro? Well, you notice that is no longer a Chevy Duramax diesel truck parked in front of my shop. That is my new 2024 Ram 3/4 ton 6.4 Hemi with the gas motor. Now today we're going to talk about if you really need to be towing with the diesel truck or if you can get away with towing with the gasser. So stick around for the reasons why I switched and why you may want to consider one or the other. Now, the biggest and foremost reason that I, who have been a Chevy Duramax owner since 2002, that's right, you guys, every year since 2002, I would trade up into that year model of Chevy Duramax diesel truck. I've had them for that long. I've had every make and model of Chevy Duramax motor that has come out since their inception. But why did I switch? Well, the number one reason that we switched out of a diesel truck is because of this camper. That's right. Now for my business, if you follow the channel, you know I run a construction business. Now, yes, diesels have been awesome, been wonderful to have, but this camper only has a pin weight or hitch weight of about 1,900 pounds, and it's a little over 10,000 pounds dry. So for that style of camper, which is considered a mid-profile, not a drop frame, not a full profile, but a mid-profile, they're a lot lighter. And you don't need that gigantic, expensive diesel truck. Now for me, the reasons I switched out of diesel, not only because of towing the new Cougar that we have, is easy with the newer gas motors. Now, when it comes to the gas motors, you have several options. You have the Chevy, which has the 6.6 gas motor that's available. You have, like I have, the Ram 6.4 Hemi. You have the Ford 7.3 Goliath motor, the big boys. Now, these are all gas motors that these manufacturers have come out with, offering options to you, the buyer, so you don't have to go through the expense of those diesel trucks. Now, as you may or may not know, diesel trucks range anywhere from $10,000 to $15,000 higher in cost because you're buying that diesel motor. Now for me, since I've seen the inception of DEF fluid and of all these EGR problems and emissions problems that come on these newer diesel trucks, they choked them out. That's right, they choked them out. They added so much emission stuff to them that those diesel motors just really don't perform like they were bred to do. Not like back in the days of the 5.9 Cummins motors or some of the earlier generation Ford diesel motors or the earlier generations of Chevy diesel motors. So with that being said, you have the expense of DEF, or what's known as DEF fluid, that you have to add to your truck constantly. And the expenses that go along with maintenance tend to be much higher on diesel trucks because there's a lot more that you have to keep in mind when you're running those diesel trucks. Now, will a diesel perform over and better than a gas motor? All day long, you guys, all day long. That's why I've owned them since 2002, because of their performance factor. But now that I'm 61 years old and I have a lighter weight camper, I've grown tired of the cost of maintaining diesel trucks, the cost of buying diesel trucks. Not only are they more expensive to buy, they're more expensive to insure. You have to ask yourself, what's a better trade-off for you? If you're a full-timer, or you tow or haul maybe 6 to 8 months out of the year, then I would say absolutely a diesel truck is probably for you. If you're doing that much moving and traveling, your diesel motor is going to get better mileage, fuel mileage. Your diesel motors are going to tow much stronger going uphill. You have the exhaust brake system going downhill. So you are going to notice, hands down, a much higher performance in a diesel truck versus gas. Now for me, We're just weekend warriors when we can, and we go south, as you may know, for a couple months during the winter, and then we're home again. So the cost versus the liability for us just doesn't make that much sense. Now, for my business, I haul certain styles of trailers, like you can see here. That is a fairly heavy, fairly big dump trailer, and 16 to 18 foot enclosed trailers and some other equipment that we haul. But it's nothing that these new gassers aren't rated for, that they cannot perform. Now, this new gasser that I bought has a hitch capacity of 3,080 pounds. That means that's how much weight, with you, the passengers combined, and all your cargo, along with your fifth wheel pin weight, can put in the back of that truck. So if my camper hitch weight is 1,900 pounds, I have to calculate my weight, my wife's weight, our two dogs, any cargo that we put in there, and I have to add that to the payload, because when you get in that truck and you add passengers, pets, supplies, that all adds to your truck's capacity. So if you were to do the math, if my camper weighs 1,900 pounds, that leaves me, almost 1,200 pounds that I can still put into the truck, or supplies that I put in the back of the truck, like your fifth wheel hitch, that weighs 100 plus pounds. You have to take all that stuff into account. But for us, I just couldn't see or justify spending the money anymore on expensive diesel trucks. It just, I can't justify the means. Now, as far as today's gassers go, yep, you're going to have to think about a few things. Now, when you're towing, let's say, like our camper, 36-footer, and I hook it up to that truck and I tow it somewhere, I have to think ahead. And by that I mean, I can't pull into the diesel truck lanes like the semi-trucks anymore. I have to use the gas lanes. So you need to use things like Google and plan out your gas stops, and try to search out like Pilot or Flying J's. Now, a lot of those are RV friendly, and they have gas pumps that are set out apart from the normal pull-up pumps that offer a lot more room for you to get in and out of. You got to keep in mind, too, that these trucks typically have smaller fuel capacity than a diesel truck. Now, on my last diesel truck that I traded in for this one, I had a 38 or 39 gallon fuel capacity, but I also had a 50 gallon reserve or auxiliary tank in the back of the truck. So I could travel a very long way without having to stop and worry about pulling into any fuel lane. Now, with a gasser like this, a short bed, I have a 31 gallon gas tank. So that limits how far I can go when I'm towing. You know, when I'm towing a fifth wheel in this thing, I'm probably going to average about 7 to 9 miles per gallon. So on a 30 gallon or 31 gallon tank, you do the math. That's a lot more frequent fuel stops that you have to be aware of. But what you can do is what I did in my diesel trucks. Now, they make DOT and government approved gasoline transfer tanks that you can put in the back of your vehicle to give you that much more towing capability as far as mileage goes. But things you have to keep in mind, you guys, if you're going to go that route, you have to make certain that it is DOT approved and legal to haul gasoline. Now, the difference between an auxiliary tank versus a transfer tank. An auxiliary tank, like goes in a diesel truck, usually plumbs into the filler neck on your vehicle. And what that is, guys, it's right here where you fill up your truck, okay? Inside of here, if you were to climb up underneath where the gas cap is, that goes down into a hose that feeds your tank. Now, that's called a filler neck. In most auxiliary tanks, you buy a kit and you plumb it in to the tank. And that way you can do it electrically or gravity fed, where you flip a switch or you flip the petcock, like the old days on a motorcycle fuel tank. And that allows the fuel to flow into that tank. Well, on gasoline, no bueno. No bueno. You cannot do that. You cannot gravity feed or electronically feed into your filler neck on a gasoline transfer tank. Now, a transfer tank is just that. It's much like an auxiliary tank, but you use it to transfer fuel into your onboard gas tank. Now, there's a couple ways you can do that. Some transfer tanks have a port that you can put a secondary pump onto those, just like when you go up to a gas station and you pull it out of the pump and you pull the lever and your gas comes right into your vehicle. Well, you can do that on these transfer tanks as well. You just have to hook up to an electrical source. And typically those have directions, and there's a lot of YouTube videos out there about how to do that. So I actually found a 40-gallon transfer tank that is DOT approved. The manufacturer is RDS. There's a few others out there like Transfer Flow. I think Titan and S&B also make gasoline DOT approved transfer tanks that you could run into the back of your vehicle. But that's going to increase my mileage at least 2 times. If I had 40 gallons of gasoline in the back on a transfer tank, and I have a 31-gallon onboard tank, well, 71 gallons of fuel, 4, 5, 6, 7, yeah, 71 gallons of fuel. If you take that by about 7 to 9 miles a gallon, well, you can increase and double your distance without having to make frequent fuel stops. Because, again, when you're pulling a trailer, like a fifth wheel behind this, again, you have to go to gas pumps. Well, as we know, that's a little bit hard to do because some of those gas stations aren't very user-friendly to get a 35, 36-foot trailer in and out of, especially a fifth wheel. And then you have to worry about what's called tail swing. So when you pull up to a pump, you guys, if you fill your truck, as you start to turn away, well, your camper's going to come with you, and it starts to swing like that rear end of your camper. And I've seen it where people get too much tail swing and they end up smacking a gas pump or one of those concrete pylons that protects the gas pumps. So you got a lot of things to think about. But with that in mind, you guys, just wanted to do a little catching up with you and let you know what's been going on. Sorry, I've been out of the game for almost 2 weeks. A little bit of reason for that. A week ago, let's see, it would have been December 17th, I had a colonoscopy done, and at 61 years old, I'm kind of embarrassed to even say that I've never had one done. I kept putting it off. 2 years ago in May when I had a brain bleed, I was scheduled to have it done, but then we had to cancel it because 3 days before that, I ended up with a massive brain bleed and was out of commission for quite a while. So I finally got that done, and it got me thinking, I think we need to do a colonoscopy on a camper. That's right. You heard me right. So I did a little research on YouTube to try to find out if other RV YouTubers were doing it, and I found only 2 or 3, but guess what? They didn't show the camera actually going down into the tank to show what they found. They were probably thinking, who wants to see that shit? Well, all the comments on there said, hey, you just showed the camera starting to go down. We didn't get to see what kind of material was left in the tank. Now, I want you to keep in mind something. I am very anal retentive when it comes to cleaning my RV tank. I flush 3 times. I only let it get a little bit to half, maybe a little over half full before I empty that tank, and I flush it 3 times by backfilling it all the way to the top and then flushing it out. And I'm very adamant and anal retentive about using chemicals in the tank to make sure I'm breaking down all the solids. But I want to see what's in that tank now that it's winterized and I did my final flushes back in the fall before it got cold. So guess what we're going to do? We're going to drop a camera down that bad boy, and it might get a little graphic because I don't know what we're going to find, but we're going to put it on camera because I want people to see what might be getting left behind when you think that you are thoroughly flushing your tank. So stay tuned. We're going to drop that endoscopy camera, otherwise known as a bore camera or bore sight camera, down that tank, and we're going to see exactly what we find. So you're going to be as surprised as I am, so you're going to want to stay tuned for that episode because we don't know what kind of we're going to find in there, but we're going to take you along and see for ourselves. Anyway, thanks for tuning in, you guys. I hope you have a great Christmas. Hopefully I'll be bringing that episode by Friday or Saturday this week. Thanks for dropping in. See ya.